Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. It's not necessarily a training, but it's answering a frequently asked questions that I get from my members. So, what does my average day look like as a seven-figure membership owner? So, for those of you who are watching on YouTube who are not familiar with me, this is just 1 second. I always need to check the audio, and if it's working just fine. My name is Evelyn. I own low-ticket online memberships, and I have built a seven-figure membership business. So you can see this is the year to date. So we pretty much from the net volume just hit 2 million here. And yeah, I get very, very frequently asked from my members, what does an average day in the life look like? And I want to give you a realistic insight, because when I grew up to be an entrepreneur, which I have been self-employed ever since I studied. I can't even tell. It's a decade now since I started to hustle on the side, building websites, doing social media management, running Facebook ads, and my coaching business I'm doing since 2020. And the membership I started in September 2020, and since then it grew quite quickly to now we're getting close to 7,000 paying monthly members. So here you can see that. And that started in September 2020. So when I grew up to be an entrepreneur, all the videos on YouTube I don't know who it is, but thanks for tuning in. All the videos I was seeing on YouTube, day in the life of, seven-figure entrepreneur, etc. For me, a millionaire was, I don't know what it was, but it was something big, and it was something so far out of reach that I was always very impressed by those videos that would usually be high quality and B-roll and all of those things. So I just want to give you, now that I'm here and I've been here for a while now, I want to give you a realistic day in a life, right? Because it's a little bit different than what I expected, but I love it. So here is what my average day looks like and what I'm spending my time on. Spoiler alert, it's not on a yacht. So let me zoom in a little bit. So I also want to say that what you have to know about me, if we haven't met before, so I divide my time between Austria and Canada. I'm originally from Austria. My baby daddy is from Canada. And after we had a little bit of a rough patch in the beginning, we reunited. I was in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey a single mom with a baby, and most of the time alone in Austria. And eventually we repaired our relationship. We're getting married very soon, and been coming to Canada with him, and now I'm in the process of becoming a permanent resident. So right now is a time where we are in Canada, and my day here, and we have all kinds of visa issues, so there's always has been phases in my life for months where I will be alone with my son in Austria, and the day there looks different and also more challenging than here. So when I'm here, I'm a little bit spoiled. I'm also living with his family. I'm here in a closet, in case you didn't see. Yeah, and so I'm in the process of becoming a permanent resident. I'm living here with family, which is something that I'm very, very much enjoy. And whenever I'm here, hi from UK. Whenever I'm here, then I'm a little bit more spoiled with having support and having time. So, for example, because daycare in Austria, until Danny is in daycare and I'm home in front of the laptop, it's 8:30, and then I have to pick him up, around 12. So that is very condensed time. So I would very often just work in the night, and one day a week I would ask my dad for help. He gets him in the afternoon, and he sleeps over there, so I can do my calls. So, but I have to honestly confess, some days really, really hard. And here it's better because we have daycare, and because Danny's dad is here, he can drop him off. So I basically can start my day here more chilled, and the daycare here is also longer because he can nap there. So I have all the way until 3 in the afternoon. Okay, so this is kind of for context. Now, what does an average day here in Canada at the moment, living together with family, look like? I get up between 5:30 and 8:30. That's a wide range, right? And your average entrepreneur will tell you their 4 a.m. morning routine. And I have come to realize that for me, and there are different theories, right? If you listen to different things, you might say like for women it's easier like that, and that's also cycle related. I definitely see cycle related performance, like how I can show up in my business, 100% like influenced by that, especially phases of anxiety, etc. So what works really, really well for me, although I'm going to bed on average always at the same time, some days I just wake up at 5:30 and I'm like, I'm here, I'm clear, and the boys still sleep. So usually what actually happens is like around 5, then he comes and I take him to the bed with us, and then sometimes he wants to have a milk, and then I make him, and then he drinks, and he falls asleep again. Sometimes he's like, "Mama, play." So then we go play, right? But more often than not, like if he falls asleep, sometimes I fall asleep with him, and I sleep in a little bit with him, and sometimes he falls asleep and I'm going to work. So about 2 or 3 times a week, actually, I'm getting in 1 or 2 hours of complete deep focus work like that in the morning, and those are my most productive times of the week, like by far. This in the morning when I'm sitting here on my desk, I'm looking at the bed at the moment. When I'm sitting here in the morning, it's completely quiet. Just the sun comes up and I see the boys sleeping, and I can get my work done here. And I have my coffee, and it's like one of the like most beautiful, most treasured time in my week. And I also get like a boatload of work done just because my mind is like so fast in the morning. So because I realized that like early on about me that um, I'm so much quicker. Like I can create in 2 hours what I cannot do in the whole rest of the week, right? So because I know this about myself, I try to front load my day with creative work and push everything that needs this decision making towards the back of the day. So on those days, and like I said, I allow myself when I'm tired to sleep in more, and I'm trying not to take any calls before 9 a.m. And because I can work from home, right, I can fall out of bed quickly, put my hair up, and be on the call. So that's quite convenient that I don't have to commute. So I really try to give myself in that sense when I know like I'm a little bit more exhausted, I give myself that. But when I'm excited, I also allow myself to do that. So I really very much go with how I have energy. Before noon, so this can vary, right? But what doesn't vary is before I do anything else, every single day I do my Eisenhower matrix and my priority setting. So I have my daily self-management worksheet. If you're Coach Growth Hub member, you also have this where basically in the morning I brain dump. Then it's like, okay, what needs to be done? And I'm not using the matrix anymore because it's like in my head, but I know, okay, is it important? Is it urgent? It needs to get done. Is it important? Not urgent. I need to schedule it. Is it not important? But urgent. I need to outsource it or delegate it or outsource or delegate it if I can, right? And if I can't, and I have to assume that's a repeated task, then I have to build up towards being able to delegate those tasks. So I also have like a documentation rule. Everything I do, I document. Because if I need to do it more than once, I'm trying to get everything off of my plate that doesn't benefit from being done by myself, which mostly really is the creative and the vision part. So I try to already, when I do things, do them in a way like I record myself, right? So I really try to, as much as I possibly can. And those are always, in all honesty, I'm not perfect, right? There are days where I just did something and then I should have recorded that, right? So it's a spectrum. But more often than not, I'm doing this, and more often than not, that's a really smart choice to do that. And not important, not urgent. What's one of the biggest takeaways that I can give you is consciously make the decision to not do something. If it's not important and not urgent, decide against it. And that actually will give you back a lot of mental capacity. So back to my day and what it looks like. So after I know my priorities for the day, and I don't have calls, I usually work on a treadmill. with a desk, and I like to do before noon, like I like to alternate being on the treadmill and then doing pull-ups every hour. I'm not going to the gym here. In Austria, I would often go to the gym, but I found that doing like free exercises basically, and the walking, for me it's pull-ups, push-ups, and squats, and then the treadmill, and it really keeps me quite in shape. And it saves me a lot of time. And I still, in Austria, still sometimes like going to the gym, but for just maintenance of physical health, that works really, really well for me. So I try to just weave that workout in, and for many tasks it actually helps me to walk. It really gets my creative juices flowing, and it's actually, and I don't even notice, like when I was just 2.5 hours on the treadmill, I don't even notice that. So after I did the Eisenhower matrix in the morning, I usually would want to spend my before noon creating things, right? So creating new training, updating resources, writing sales pages, crafting offers, creating digital products, strategizing. So all basically things that require creativity and focus, I like to get done before noon. However, I also have non-negotiables that I need to do, and very often those non-negotiables, I'm doing them very quickly anyway, but there's usually, as they come in throughout the day, so it's also like a rule of mine to knock it off as it comes in, right, as fast as I can. But there's some things that come in and I can't immediately, and I'm in the process of something, I can't immediately knock it off because it has something where I'm unsure about it, or it has something to do with, saying no to someone, getting back to someone where I actually want to say no. So I struggle with two types of things in that regard. And one is it's a topic that kind of scares me, and topics that kind of scare me are things like related to having difficult conversations, things related to money, accounting, legal. And I don't know why, but if it's in that area, it's like code red, I'm anxious, and that immediately like robs me of my creativity. And when I'm in flow, I try to push it I tend to push it down, right? Not necessarily good, because whether I like it or not, it actually, the pushing down part also requires mental capacity. So I try to, if I carry them on from the past day, what sometimes happens, I try to put them as non-negotiables of need to get it done today. And the way I trick myself into doing this is there's a worksheet in Secret Weapon that you can check us out. It's like eating your veggies. When I was a kid and we always had to finish the whole plate, and I didn't like the veggies as much as I liked the meat, I would eat my veggies first so I could then, enjoy the piece of food that I liked more. So I like to approach it like that as well. I know that there's certain parts in my creation work that I'm like really excited to get done, and I make a deal with myself. It's like, okay, when you get one thing of the non-negotiables done, then you can work a little bit on that. And what typically happens is I get one of those things done, and then I'm in the doing, and then it's actually easy to knock the others off, and then you have like your whole mental capacity back, and then it's nice. So I kind of work with myself here, and I think it's also, that's something I learned that's really important, is to know how you tick and how to get yourself to do the thing. So, we're working with yourself in that regard, like how I have to sometimes work with Danny, who's a toddler, right? I sometimes have to work myself like I'm a toddler. I have to bribe myself into doing things and a little bit trick myself into doing things. At the same time, I'm also like consciously working on those areas. Like I said, I told you, the people pleasing, saying no, or just having this inherent fear of some topics, everything related to legal and contracts and everything related to tax and accounting. It's just fear topics. So I'm also working on, releasing that and, reaffirming, like every time I do it, I'm like, see, that wasn't difficult, that wasn't hard. So I'm working on that. So typically I spend my before noon in creation mode in that, and I try to knock off my non-negotiables, which really are often like 2 or 3 things that can get done in under half an hour, but because I'm dreading them so much, they're in the head for hours. So, but then we're done. Then typically in the afternoon I have a snack, and sometimes I check social media, and I check in with the team. So before I go like in my afternoon mode, I typically like to check in with the team. There's a Slack channel that's like now urgent questions for Evelyn. So we kind of consolidated that. So I know I only have to look at that, and I only have to look at my questions tracker. So the questions tracker are things from the communities where the coaches are like, okay, Evelyn, this is something that needs your personal feedback, or I'd love to have a second opinion for you. So I'm checking that in every day before going into the afternoon. And then after I have eaten and done that, I usually take a shower, and then I jump on a live call like this. And after the call, I typically repurpose the call. So I just do a thumbnail, and then I usually either send an email or post on social media, or kind of do both. It depends on how helpful I think the piece of content is, right? Because now I'm going live every single day, and I think every single piece is helpful, but I also know like the videos tend to get long, and I don't want my audience to feel like the pressure of watching it, so I don't want to bombard them. Try to find a good balance here. And then in the afternoon, it's Danny time. He comes home around 3:30, depending on the traffic. And sometimes, because we're now living with Dave's dad and his sister, sometimes in the evening, for example, Danny's dad likes to feed him. So very often I also get like a 30 minutes of creation or catching up in there. And then after that, spend a little bit more time with Danny, then laying him to the bed, and then we have family time. We typically spend the evenings together in the living room. We talk, or sometimes we play games. Often, actually, we play games. And then around between 10:30 to 11:30, I go sleep. In the meantime, like around here is when Jessa wakes up. And then it's like also the time of the day where we kind of brainstorm things back and forth. But that's more playful. When we work, we actually also work like with, for example, now we have the upcoming birthday for Secret Weapon. So we have a to-do list with like your responsibility, my responsibility, and we work kind of independently from each other. But we often just love to shoot each other back and forth, like, big vision plans, pinky and the brain ideas. So I always look forward to those conversations with her in the afternoon. But sometimes when we're also like in focus mode or with our families, we don't have those so intensively. So the only exception from that is Mondays and Fridays are different because I have my calls. So Monday, typically the whole before noon is full with calls, and then I try to go back to the afternoon routine. And Friday, I alternate the calls in the morning versus the evening. So today I spent in creation mode. Now I'm going live, and right after the live, my coaching mini membership method call will start for an hour. Then I have half an hour break, and then my funnels and ads pro call will start. And at 4:30 I will be done, and then I will be catching up with the questions that I couldn't answer on the live call because the person was not there, or there were too many people who submitted. And then I typically give video feedback. And yeah, then I call it a week. I do work sometimes on the weekends, but I do not work every weekend. I allow myself also to take full days off during the week, like I really, as I need it, right? And I have more and less productive week, like from output. And I go very, very much. I really try to work very much with what works for me. And I always try to do things that are, so as you can see, I structured basically my whole life and business in a way that I can spend most time in my kind of zone of genius, which is the content creation, conceptualization, copywriting. So those are the things where I spend the majority of the funnel building is a part of the creation for me. So I should have said that as well. So the going through the funnels, optimizing things, thinking of offer structures, writing that up, thinking of a new program, writing the emails. So all kinds of like writing tasks, etc. They fall under creation. And also one of the questions of my members was like, oh, when do you do all the reflection and all the journaling, etc.? So my reflection routine I shared in another live a few days ago. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. I also give you my reflection template. I like to do once a week a deeper reflection. Sometimes it just happens to be 2 times a month, right? If it wasn't weeks where a lot of things happen. But for example, at the moment, I feel like also with the mini coaching, first we had slow launches, then the mini coaching program, now the Secret Weapon birthday will come up. So I feel like a lot is happening in a week. So I try to then when I feel like a lot of momentum is happening, I try to do the reflections on a weekly basis. And I also try to reflect every single day, like, okay, how was that? How did I show up? What was easy? What was difficult? So I can just learn for the next day, right? Like, for example, what I told you, okay, I was pushing this thing off because I actually was scared to reply. Oh, was it worth having that clock in your head? Well, probably not. Well, next time, let's just come up with an idea of how we can reply. Let's make I'm actually making for myself a saying no template and kind of using that. Or I'm also like much more selective with. I'm not even responding on honor channels anymore, just also because I get like too many requests. So um, I weave the reflections in throughout the day, but I definitely commit to do it on a bi-weekly basis every month. And whenever I'm doing something new in my business, I'm debriefing, and also when I'm repeating, I'm debriefing. So every like workshop, launch, new training that I give, etc., I always debrief. Yeah. How much vacation time do you give yourself? How do you look after Danny during the holidays? So, to be honest, the 3-week vacation I took this summer was the first real vacation that was not a workation in the whole 3 years of having my business. I did not have another vacation where I wouldn't do any work. And this one was really needed, but my team just wasn't at that point, right? I also think that it's okay to commit to seasons of where you're building something. And for me, it was one of the most rewarding things that I was like, I built the business to a point where I can take 3 weeks off and there's no hit in revenue, there's no additional cancellations, nothing. So I kept traveling with Danny and having kind of workations where I would work a little bit, like just catch up the most urgent things, and then we would still spend time. But I would never have like full time off, right? So that's just something that's more possible right now. And I also don't want to paint like sugarcoat this. It was many years until I'm now at that point. And to be honest, I also don't necessarily crave it. So building the business was always like a passion, and it was always exciting. And it there are only certain aspects of the business that feel like work to me, and it's usually, interestingly, in those areas where I also have personal work to do, like, where I also have, for example, self-worth work to do, where I have boundary work to do. So all those kinds of areas where things are actually not ideal because I need to still learn, right? So where I have development potential, these are usually the areas that feel like work, and those areas where that I love to do, they never feel like work, right? I could also do that the whole day if I wasn't committed to strike a balance with my family. So yeah, we have a big team now. So I really started building up my team at a bigger scale in May last year only, when I already had my first $50,000 month, and it was probably too late. We now have we have an operational manager who is very structured, and in that sense a really good addition to myself, because I'm a creative and I'm a creative visionary, and I am not an operations manager, right? You also have to kind of know yourself like that. And I need somebody who loves processes and who loves rules and all of those kind of things, because like I just showed you, I'm going with the flow, right? So I need someone that tells me, young lady, it's nice to go with the flow, but we need job descriptions and proper contracts, so all of those things that kind of scare me, there are people who love doing that. So have a wonderful operational manager now, or team member who stepped up to do that after we had some changes. And because we had some bigger changes in the team, this is all like a transition phase right now. Then we have member success managers, so people who catch the daily questions. We have 24-hour within workdays feedback support. So we have success managers that catch the questions in groups daily, and like I said, when something needs to my attention, they escalate it to that tracker. Then we have copy coaches, because in Funnels and Ads Pro and Coaching Mini Membership Method, we offer copy reviews. And we have ad coaches, because we offer ad performance reviews. And who else is on my team? Then we have back office team that handles emails, Facebook ads, messages, comments, and what else do we have? I think that's almost it. And then there's, things that where we're like still shaping the roles. And then obviously like I'm teaming up with Jess and she has her whole team where we also have designers, etc. So yeah, it is a big team and it grew, and we're still like cleaning up and figuring things out, but we also grow like really, really rapidly. And it's not it's still like growing and developing, and I'm also growing in my role there as a team leader. Up until like beginning of 2022, I was committed to be a solopreneur for life, but I also realized that was coming from past like wounds and trauma, and it was actually many, many limiting beliefs that I was holding, and the business exploded once I started building a team because I was really, really bottlenecking it hard. So yeah, if you are in Coaching Mini Membership Method, we also have a super detailed training around the team and everything, but I also feel that every membership needs a slightly different setup, and the reason why it needs a slightly different setup is because what you need in a team will very much depend on where you're like really good in what areas, and what areas just don't come naturally to you. One of the biggest mistakes I made like basically my whole life was I was really harsh on myself, and I thought I need to just get good at these things, right? I just need to get good at being like really organized and everything. And I didn't realize I just have to team up with people who are like naturally really good at this. So everybody can be their own kind of fish in their own kind of water. And that was a big aha moment when I realized, and we tend to like be on a wavelength with people that are like us, but it's not necessarily the people we should hire. So I like to hire from value alignment, but complementary skills in that way. Yeah, for me, and that might just be my personal truth. The reason why I struggle to manage the team is my communication. I'm not assertive enough and not clear enough, but my like shortcut into this is having a really good operational manager that helps me, that also is very confident, like speaking up and calling me out on when I drop the ball on communication. And the biggest thing is like being really clear and assertive also in the communication, and really, really working on that. And of course, you have to find the right people. Like I've always thought I can throw money at the problem. You can't. It has to be the right type of people. And in an ideal world, you hire from the inside out. Like if you have a community, if you have an audience, I would hire like loyal fans who truly see you and who love your vision. So also question, why is someone here? And also mistake that I did was I waited way too long when it was a situation where it was not aligned. And usually you have an itch, right? But you don't want to set the consequences, because of course, right, if you change structures, then you have to rebuild, and there's a lot of spilled milk and cleanup work, but it's also necessary. Right type of people has a lot to do also with you, like gaining clarity about your values, vision, etc. first. So it's twofolded. I definitely take ownership of all the things that have happened in my role as a team leader. And I also think that if I say it's my responsibility and it's on me, then it gives me that feeling like of I can do something about it. So for me, that's mentally helpful. Okay, guys, I have to jump off because it's my group coaching call now. I hope this was insightful. Let me know what kind of it was a little bit more private than usual, less actual doing of the work. But yeah, let me know what kind of topics you're interested in, and I'm always happy to share if you find it helpful. Have a lovely day and lovely weekend. Bye.